The floor to the distinguished representative of Portugal.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the situation is raging and risks spiraling throughout the region, we are deeply disappointed that the use of veto has so far hindered the Security Council from addressing the situation in Israel and Gaza, and we welcome the General Assembly resolutions adopted today. Once again, Portugal would like to reiterate its unequivocal condemnation of the terrorist attacks by Hamas, reaffirm its solidarity with Israel and the recognitions of Israel's right of self-defense. Terrorism in all its forms should be condemned, and hostages must be released immediately and without preconditions. No matter the savagery of the worst terrorist attacks on its history, Israel's action must respect international humanitarian law. No party to an armed conflict is above international humanitarian law. Tragically, civilian population, hospitals, UN facilities, including schools and other critical and civilian infrastructures, are not being protected. The death toll on both sides is staggering. We cannot remain indifferent to the suffering of innocent victims, Israelis, Palestinians, and other nationalities, including UN workers. At this moment, our collective priority should be the protection of civilians and addressing the tragic humanitarian situation on the ground. Portugal fully supports the Secretary-General's call for a humanitarian ceasefire and commend his tireless advocacy for humanitarian corridors so that aid can reach the population of Gaza. We commend the UN work on the ground and pay our respect to those who died in the service of UNRWA. Mr. President, we also consider it is crucial to avoid the spread of the conflict to the West Bank and beyond by accident or calculated action. We welcome and encourage the continuation of regional and international efforts, both in multilateral and bilateral spheres, to prevent a spillover. And we must return to the diplomatic track. To break the cycle of violence and extremism, we must transform this moment in crisis into a moment of peace in the future, both for Israelis and Palestinians, and do our utmost to preventing that anger and confrontation prevails. It is our collective responsibility to address the structural drivers of this conflict. This will require a renewed involvement of all relevant actors and a determined effort to implement the Security Council resolutions on the matter and set a clear and solid path to a Palestinian state fulfilling the two-state solutions. Mr. President, despite the efforts made by the co-sponsors, which we recognize, the General Assembly resolution adopted fails to condemn the appalling terrorist attack of October 7 by Hamas and the taking of hostages. We deeply regret this. Acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable regardless of their motivations, whenever and by whomever they are committed. Hostage-taking constitutes a serious violation of the Geneva Convention and a war crime under international law, criminal law. This is the reason why we voted in favor of the Canadian amendment and regret that it was not approved. Mr. President, in the aftermath of Hamas' horrific attack, we shared the grief of Israeli families and we declared our solidarity with Israeli people. The same humanity and belief in the inherent value of every human life takes us also to support the Palestinian people, acknowledging their suffering and the catastrophic reality in Gaza. This human tragedy unfolding before our eyes must be stopped now. No matter what, a humanitarian truce must be established immediately, and all parts must comply by their obligations under international law, including international humanitarian law and human rights law. This is the reason why Portugal voted in favor of the resolution, because our common humanity must prevail. I thank you.